Alright, today I'm going to disassemble a ps5 controller. We're going to check out the stick drift that it has. This one's really bad. This one is also bad, but it's not as bad. This one might be able to be cleaned. This one more than likely is going to need a new one. What we're going to do is just get your fingernails and just pop it up like that. Same thing on this, and then you're just going to carefully get your fingers under it and just kind of work it up. And just get your fingers right under the corners right here. What you're basically trying to do is just make sure that it doesn't break. And then that's going to pop up from right there. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And then you just carefully get it off of the analog sticks and you just pop it out just like that. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna need some kind of small flathead. You wanna be gentle with the R2 and the L2 buttons. You don't wanna put a lot of pressure on them. You wanna support the button. We're gonna be removing the L1 and the R1. You wanna support it with one finger, pushing it towards you, towards R2. And you're gonna get the flathead under it and pry it up. And it needs to come straight up. Same thing for this one. Support it with your front finger, your index finger, and then just pop them up. Okay, once you do that, you'll have access to the screws, 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there. And they're just Phillips. I'm going to take those out. I'll put a link for these little toolkits that I use. They're pretty cheap on Amazon in the description. So if you need something like this, it makes it a lot easier to get these screws out so you don't strip them and cause any damage. Okay, once you have those 4 off, if you've opened up this controller before, it's going to be a little bit easier, but if it's the first time, it's going to be a little tight. But what you're going to do is you're just going to grab the top and the bottom. And you see that? You're going to separate them. Do that on both sides. Now what I like to do is index finger and thumb and hold them apart right here. And then you're going to get your flathead again, and there's going to be 2 tabs right here. 2 tabs, just pop them up gently. You see that? And then that's going to pop open. And once you do that, the back, it's going to feel like you're going to break it, but you're not. And you're just going to pull up on the back. And you're going to hear the 2 clicks. And then that's it. It opens right up. So we can set this aside for cleaning. Now there's some important cables that you need to be careful of. They are very easy to break, which are going to be the microphone right here and then this cable here. So we're going to be removing this one, this one, this one right here for the left part of the controller and the right part of the controller here. And then once we remove the battery, we're also going to have this ribbon cable here. So what you could do is just grab the battery up like that, hold it by all 3, make sure you're grabbing all 3 wires right there, and then just give it one quick tug. Just like that. If you have fat fingers, you can grab some needle nose pliers. You just want to be very gentle, super careful. And just gently pull up on those, get those out. The next thing we could do is take off the battery cradle. Just one Phillips head, just like the other ones. Even though I'm pretty sure they're all the same, I like to separate them. So I'll take that one and I'll set it over here. And then this is just gonna gently come out. Now that's why you need to remove that cable right there. So then that comes out. set that to the side. So now these ones are a little bit easier to grab. You just pull the tabs up. And then you can just leave them right there. Okay. And then the last one is going to be this one right here. This is for your touchpad. Okay, once you have all those, there's going to be two small tabs right here. There's one right here and one right here on the other side of the battery connector. You can kind of pull up with your index finger and just pop that tab, and there you go. So now we have access to the sticks. Most people at this point will desolder the two right here. You can. If you're going to be doing some kind of soldering work, it's just better to do that. I like to try to see if I could fix it without doing any of that. So just pull that one off. Pull that one off. If this pops off while you're working on anything, all that does is it just goes right back into here. And you'll see. So this is pretty much going to face downward like that. So our right analog stick was the one that we were having all the issues with. So again, with your flathead, you want to be very, very careful. You're going to see a little bit of a notch right here. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up right there. Oh, right there, right on the top. What I like to do is get a flathead and just carefully get it in between those two and just carefully pry it open. And then once you get it in there, press against the analog stick and just pull it down a little bit. There we go. Lost my damn tweezers. It helps to have some very fine tweezers for this. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull out the potentiometer. There we go. So now if you're looking at that, where I'm holding it from is going to be the top. It needs to go back in the same way. So do not get the orientation mixed up. So at this point we can inspect for damage. And I don't think the camera is going to pick it up, but right in here, right there. So it's supposed to all be black, and right in that spot, there is a little piece of, kind of looks like copper. It's not copper, but I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, there's a defect in it, and that's what's causing the stick drift here. So that is not going to be able to be cleaned. Yeah, that's not going to be able to be cleaned. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this potentiometer. And I'm going to go ahead and open up this one and see if it's the same. Ideally, you would want to do a TMR upgrade or a Hall effect upgrade, but we're not doing any of that. The customer is not paying for it, so we're just going to be replacing these. And then we're going to inspect these ones as well. And if they need to be replaced, we'll also replace those. Okay, so I opened up this side the exact same way. This side actually looks really good. There's no damage on the inside. Unlike this one, it is damaged. So this one will probably be okay with just a good cleaning. And then we'll go ahead and close that one back up. You want to make sure that if any of these are damaged on the inside, that you do not reuse the same potentiometer. And you want to make sure to replace the whole thing It could be microscopic and you may not be able to see it, but there could be damage on these, which is what is causing the damage to the inside of it. So you want to make sure to just toss these. All right, I'm gonna get this one cleaned up and then I'm gonna put it back in. Okay, so you want to make sure that the orientation is correct. Go ahead and just drop it back in. And then you want to carefully place it back in the correct position. You want to make sure your tools are clean. You want to make sure that there's no lint, dirt, or anything that gets back inside of here, because it will cause damage and stick drift. I like to press it back in so that it's nice and flush first and it's seated correctly, because if it's not seated correctly and you go to close this, you could break the green part and you could break the inside. You want to make sure that the analog controller, the part that is actually going to move the potentiometer, is aligned correct with that. And then using your nails, press, it's kind of hard, press it back in, you'll hear it click, and then that's good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and break this one off, and then I'm going to desolder from the other side. So I got my helping hands here, and on the edge of the board here, you don't want to clamp this onto the board. You want to make sure that you either put something in between it, or what I like to use is the rubber grommets that are already there. But basically, we're going to take this potentiometer out, and we're going to desolder these three here. You are going to need a whole soldering kit. They're pretty cheap, you can get them. But I'm going to go ahead and just break this one off. You could do that by just bending it back and forth. And it'll just break off. You can see a little bit of damage right there on the edge. It's really hard to see, but it is there. And that's what's causing the drift. We have our replacement. You want to make sure that you remove it and you check it. I've gotten damaged and broken pieces, even though they're new. So that's what it should look like, all solid black. And then no damage on this one. So we're good to go with these. So to desolder it, I'm going to put a little bit of flux on it. And then we are going to add a little bit of solder. Okay, so we're going to add some solder to it, to the 3 pins. What I like to try to do is see if I can actually just grab the pins with this as I'm soldering it. There we go. So we got one out. Let's set that to the side. There's number 2. And there's number 3. Gave me a little bit of trouble, but we got it out. Once you have the 3 pins out, then you're going to need your wick. Make sure that's clean and fresh. And we're going to go ahead and get all that solder off, clean it up. And what you want to see is 3 clean holes with nothing in them. It is a little bit of a challenge. I like to try to just take the tip and place it in there with the soldering wick so that it gets into the hole. There we go. So it should look like that center one right there, where it's nice and open. There we go. Now I'm not applying a lot of pressure. I'm not pushing against the board. I'm not scratching the board. I'm just kind of letting it rest on it and just pressing into the hole and allowing it to get sucked up. Okay, so that should be good. So now we're going to clean that up. And you want to make sure you're cleaning the underside as well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to slightly bend the pins back carefully. So then that way we're able to place it in. And so I'm going to do that with some needle nose here. And just carefully bend them like that. So I'm going to take it off of here now. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this back onto the motherboard. And we're not going to press down on the motherboard and make sure that this is seated on there correctly. What we're going to do is we're actually going to place this back in the holes here, just like that. Sorry, this thing's not, it keeps focusing with my hand. But so you see how easily it's kind of going in? That's what you want. You don't want to have to force it. That means that the holes are clean and it can move freely. So what you're going to do now is we are going to place the potentiometer back in. And so it should be like that. Okay, so from here, we're going to go ahead and clip it back onto the analog stick. Trying to do it in a way that it doesn't block you guys. Okay. So there we go. So now it's clipped back in. And then you can see here, right, and then it moves freely. So that's all good. And it is seated correctly. So once it's seated correctly, now we can go ahead and just solder those back on. If you're OCD, you can go ahead and straighten out the pins. It doesn't need to be done, but you'll get a better connection if you do. Okay. Now all we have to do is solder it back on. Get a little bit of flux. We have our soldering wire. There we go. Shut that off so it doesn't start a fire. Okay, so let's take it off and check out our work. You want to look under here, whoops, right there, in between the board, and make sure that they're not bridged. Make sure that there's nothing on there and that the connection is good. We're gonna go ahead and clean that. So that's pretty much it. Little ugly soldering, but it does the job. So now we can get back on gamepad tester and we can check it out. And it is gonna need to be recalibrated, so just keep that in mind. Off camera, I'm gonna go ahead and check the other one, make sure everything's okay. And then once I go back to putting it back together, I'll get back on here. Okay, so now we have that one replaced, that one's clean. So now we're gonna go ahead and put it back together. Be mindful of the ribbon cables, especially the microphone here at the bottom. That one can be easily damaged. Oh, almost forgot our sticks. These are still in pretty good condition, so you know what? I think I have a lot of them. I think I'm gonna replace them anyways. I'm gonna replace the analog sticks, some brand new ones. tight. There we go. Okay, so now got to make sure that we don't crush that ribbon cable. Gonna go like that. All right. Hold this one up. Slide that to the side. Get that analog stick into the hole. Pull this one up. Now before you let it drop down, hold it with your middle finger right there. And carefully pull this ribbon cable up. And then this last one is going to be right here. And there we go. Okay, so you want to make sure that that clips into place and that it is seated correctly. If you'd like, you can go ahead and start plugging everything back in. You should not have to force any of these. They should all go back in nice and easy. So if you're having trouble with it, take it back out, check it, see what's going on. There you go. This one has the black line right there, so you want to make sure that it's on the black line. See, that one went in crooked, so it's not going in. There we go. So it should be perfectly straight with that black line. And then the last one here. Unfortunately, you do have to reassemble it and get everything back in for it to be fully tested. There's a foam insert on here which presses the ribbon cable up against the board, and if that's not pressed up against there, you're not going to get good readings on that. All right. I mean, I guess at this point, you could just connect the battery. You would have to connect the battery, and then you could hook up your USB-C, and then you can put it on gamepad tester to make sure that it's working. I know it's working just because I've done this a couple times. And I'm going to have to recalibrate anyways, so I already know that once I plug it back in, it's going to give me some wonky readings. So put your battery cradle back on. Make sure everything feels good. Your ribbon cable for the microphone is good. That one's good, that one's good, and that one's good. You want to make sure that, this way. You want to make sure that the black and red wires for the rumblers are tucked under the cradle for the battery. Go ahead and plug this back in. Plug the battery back in. And then we're going to plug in this ribbon cable. This one's a little tight, so I'm going to use this. They do bend very easily, so you want to make sure that you're not forcing it in. There we go. So very light pressure and it just falls right in. Okay. So that's good for that. We got all that in. So now we can go ahead and, actually now that I have the screw on, before I put the cover on, I'm just going to test it really quick just to make sure all the buttons are touching and they are all working. Sometimes when you're disassembling it like this and you're messing with it, dirt and something can get in between the buttons here and then they may not press again. So I'm going to just check it before I put everything back together. Okay, everything's looking good. All the buttons are pressing. So then now, I'm gonna clean it. Okay, I'm gonna clean the outside once I'm done. Okay, so putting it back together. You're gonna place the top and over, and you'll see where the holes line up. Okay, just like that. Press down on this area here, and then the legs are gonna pop back on. And then you have these two clips right there. Squeeze it together, and you'll hear it click right back together. Now, this would be the good time to double check it. Everything's put together, all the pressure is there. You could screw it all back together, but this is a good time to check it. Go ahead and put your screws back in. Oops, there we go. I like to apply a little bit of pressure to the case as I'm doing that, so then that way the plastic isn't pulling itself together, because then it causes it to break. So apply a little bit of pressure and then screw it back together. Once it stops, that's it. Don't over tighten it. Same thing for the bottom, just apply a little bit of pressure. Once you have the 4 screws back in, get your L1 and your L2. And these buttons are going to go straight back down. You can kind of see where there's a little bit of a notched area, and these are going to slide right in that area right there. So let me try to see if I can get this on there. So you're just going to insert it just like that. So you see how it's nice and tight, but it's not clicked in yet. You just got to press it in. There you go. Same thing for this side. Make sure that they're facing correctly. That's going to slide into the slot. There you go. So it's right and it's where it needs to go, and then you just press down. Okay, for the last piece, these 2 pointy ends here, you're just going to slide them not straight down. You're not going to go straight down, but you're going to kind of go down and then up in. So down, get around the analog sticks, and then press it down, bringing those pointy tips up. And they're going to kind of slide into the controller just like that. And then right here, you just press down. Same thing for here. You just grab this area here, just press it down, and it just clips in place. And then that's it. So at this point, you'll need to connect it and recalibrate it.